Data validation in Excel is data that has to meet a certain criteria. For example, you can see the Dreamforce checkbook here. Just looks like a checkbook where you have your debits and credits over here spelled out, then the date, the description, payment deposit, the categories, and then over to the right a running tally here, depending on which column I enter my payments or my deposits. Well, what I want to do with this data validation is in this column I want to prevent users from writing out a check or taking out more than $5,000 at any one time. Not only that, I don't want to have them enter in positive numbers. Everything's negative because, again, that's a payment. So to set my criteria up for this column or these range of cells, either select the range, or in my case, I'm going to click on the column header, the letter D, and select the whole column. Go under Data, down to Validation. On the Settings tab, right now it's allowing us to type in anything we want. I'm going to change that and say I want it in decimal format. Again, that's decimal for typing in, thousands or dollars with also some pennies or cents. Right now I can say that the data is between a minimum and a maximum amount, or I can change that and say it's got to be equal to a certain amount, not equal to, greater than. Imagination's the limit, but for me it's going to be between. The minimum amount is going to be negative 5,000. In other words, I know we're saying that's the maximum amount, but think in reverse terms when it comes to debits from our account. The maximum, now we're going up the scale, will be $0. In other words, the positive is a 0, but it's not hurting the account to type in a 0 in case if they're voiding a check. So if they type in more than the minimum of negative 5,500 or negative 6,000, then I want to give a couple of error messages here. You can see up at the top I've got two. I can have what's called an input message, which means that anytime they click inside the cell, a message automatically comes up and it warns the user to say, hey, if you're going to type in anything in this cell or these range of cells, then spell it out for them here. So let's do that first, like for the title. And you can't type too much in the title. It only goes so far up to about, I guess, 25-30 characters there. And then down in the input message you can really spell it out. Now again, this input message means anytime I click inside the cell, this is the message I get. In addition to that, I can have an error alert, so even if they ignore the message and they type in something, it can have a pop-up alert. And of course you can choose from 3 different styles where it's informational, warning, or basically stop doing what you're doing. And then the title can be basically the same thing. Mr. Brain is the CEO, the boss. So I can have both of these, a message and an error alert, or I can just have the input message by unchecking the error alert. But let me show you what both of them do. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. It automatically applies, and you can see if it's selected or I click in any one of these cells here, that input message pops up and gives me the information. So it's a warning not to mess around in these and type in more than $5,000 as a negative number. Click off in a blank area, click back on, it gives me the same. So if I want to go ahead and withdraw some money, let's say it's more than 5,000, let's say it's 6,000, and I try to hit the tab key, it gives me my other warning, or the other tab on the data validation screen tells me to only withdraw so much. So I can go ahead and retry. Let's say I forget that it's not a negative number and I go above 0 and I type in a positive number of $5 and hit enter. Again, the most we can withdraw is 5,000. Maybe I could input something that says it needs to be a negative number, but I think you get the point here. So I can go ahead and click cancel. It clears it out, and then click off in a blank area. Now, if I don't want both messages or both inputs coming up here, like for example I click in here, it's very annoying, or maybe when I type something in I don't want a warning. If I just want one or the other, you can always edit this by selecting. Now keep in mind, you could do this on an individual cell basis and just remove the data validation from one cell, but yet all these others will still have it. But because I have the whole column, I want to make sure I select the whole column and then go to data to validation and then uncheck the input message and then click OK. And I no longer have that message, but I still have my error if I try to type in more than, well, a positive number here. And then of course hit escape to get out of that box there, or to clear it, select it, and then to remove it I can go ahead and go back to settings and say I want any value, and then click OK. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, as soon as I upload a new video, you'll be notified instantly, and you can do that by coming over here and clicking on my face. You can also click here to support me, so for $2 a month, you can have access to over 2,700 training videos, all ad-free, and for a few bucks more, you can have access to my exercises, instructor notes, quizzes, certificate of completion, and a whole lot more.